How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about terrifying toy dolls. From a cursed doll caught moving on camera to one that's said to come alive and attack people. Join us as we take a look at 10 cursed dolls and their chilling backstories.
In 1904, a boy named Robert Eugene Otto from Key West, Florida, received a doll as a present. It was a gift from his grandfather who had recently returned from a trip to Germany. The boy named the doll Robert after himself and had an immediate attachment to it. At night, Robert's parents claimed that they could hear their son talking to the doll in his bedroom. Sometimes a strange voice would answer back. As time went by, Robert grew more and more fond of the doll. It had its own place at the dinner table and would sleep in his bed at nighttime. Robert's parents began to notice that their son's behaviour was changing. They often found overturned furniture and objects scattered throughout the house. When they asked their son about the mess, he would get very angry and say that the doll was the one that did it. Years later, when Robert got married, he placed the doll in the attic. Children who passed by the house claimed that the doll would stare at them from the attic window, and that its expression would often change. When Robert and his wife passed away in the mid-1970s, the new owners of the house said they would often hear childlike giggling coming from the attic. They too claimed that the doll's expression would change from day to day. Today, Robert the doll has a new residence. He is housed within a glass case at the Key West Fort East Martello Museum in Florida. If you're feeling particularly brave, you can go and see him for yourself. But be aware of what you say in front of him, as he might just pay you a visit in the middle of the night. When a woman from Galveston, Texas bought this Voodoo doll on eBay, she got a lot more than she bargained for. The eBay listing explicitly warned the buyer not to remove the doll from the silver casing or risk releasing its evil powers. The woman paid no attention and removed the doll as soon as it arrived. A short time later, the woman started hearing mysterious tapping noises throughout her house. She also began having very vivid nightmares and would often wake to find the doll in strange places. The woman then claimed she woke one morning with scratches all over her body. Scared, the woman decided to send the doll back to the person she had bought it from. However, the package was returned to her. The box read, "Resident Deceased." In 1918, 17-year-old Eikichi Suzuki was visiting the Japanese city of Sapporo. While he was there, he decided to buy a doll for his younger sister Okiku as a souvenir for his trip. The young girl, who was 2 at the time, loved the doll immensely and would play with it every day. Sadly, a year later, the young girl became very ill and died of an intense fever. Knowing how much Okiku loved the doll, her family placed it in the household altar and began praying to it every day. The family noticed that the doll's hair had started to grow, and so they believed Okiku's spirit had taken refuge in the doll itself. In 1938, the family placed the doll in the care of the Monenji Temple, located in the town of Iwamizawa in Hokkaido, Japan. To this day, the doll's hair is said to have kept growing. Once the hair reaches the doll's knees, it's cut short, and each time it grows back. A sample of the hair was sent for scientific analysis, and it was concluded that it was in fact human. The doll is now well known right across Japan and remains on display at the temple to this day. Many visitors come each year to see the doll and pay their respects to Okiku, the little girl who passed away so many years ago. In 2008, 2-year-old Florida resident James Bowman was verbally threatened by his Elmo Knows Your Name doll. The doll, which can be programmed to repeat phrases and names, began singing "Kill James" over and over again. The boy's mother, Melissa, realised what the doll was saying after she changed its batteries. "I noticed exactly what it was saying," Bowman said, "and my son was repeating exactly what it was saying too. It's not something you'd ever think would come out of a toy," Bowman added, "but once I heard, I was kind of distraught." She immediately took the doll away from her son and contacted the manufacturer. Fisher-Price investigated the incident and offered the Bowmans a voucher for a replacement. Let's hope they never decide to make an Elmo Knows Where You Live version of this doll. When Amelia the doll was auctioned on eBay, she became one of the most viewed items. On the listing, the seller posted a warning that read, "This doll is not recommended for the weak of heart or for any little kids to have in their bedrooms." The doll's original owner claimed that Amelia's eyes used to be blue, but they had turned an eerie shade of green over time. They said once her eyes changed colour, weird things started to happen. The person who eventually purchased Amelia said that he began to hear childish laughter coming from the room she was kept in. He also claimed to have seen her waving at him, and once he found her standing alone in the hallway. In 1914, the British Army suspected that a German couple living in Singapore were actually spies. They detained the pair, but their daughter managed to escape, only to fall off a cliff and die a short time later. The locals erected a shrine on Pulau Ubin Island, in memory of the little girl that contained a lock of her hair as well as her crucifix. Over the years, many visitors came to pay their respects to the little girl. In 2007, a local man had a reoccurring dream about a young girl who would lead him into a toy store to buy a Barbie doll for her. Believing that the spirit of the German girl was trying to contact him, the man went to the store and bought the exact doll he had seen in his dreams. In an effort to appease the young girl's restless spirit, he took the doll to the memorial and placed it in the centre of the shrine. The doll is still there to this day, and people now come from all over the world to visit the shrine and pay their respects to the little girl, who they hope will bring them good luck. In January 2017, this unsettling footage of a possessed doll surfaced online. In the clip, a young girl can be seen sitting on the floor playing with one of her dolls. In the corner, another doll's head begins to move all by itself. The camera was reported to have been set up by the girl's father after she complained that something was bothering her. In another clip, the young girl can be seen drawing when suddenly papers mysteriously blow across the table. As the girl runs from shot, several objects are thrown around the room. The clip ends just as the table begins to slide across the floor. Is this real footage of a cursed doll haunting the little girl, or is it just a really creepy hoax? Let us know what you think's going on in the comments section below. In June 2014, this creepy blindfolded doll appeared on the side of a busy road in Singapore. The blindfold was covered in Arabic writing that said Bismillah, which translates to "in the name of Allah." Shortly after the doll's discovery, a mysterious story appeared on Reddit. It claimed that the doll was known to be possessed and had the ability to move on its own and even speak in a woman's voice. The post goes on to say that the original owner was so scared of the doll that she had to get rid of it. The only way she could be sure it wouldn't follow her home was to blindfold its eyes and write the Arabic phrase to keep the evil curse trapped within. Shortly after the doll was seen by the side of the road, it mysteriously vanished. It was said that the curse was passed on to someone else who had found the doll and unknowingly removed its bindings. The doll's current whereabouts is unknown, however it's believed that the doll will return to the roadside once it's finished with its current victim. In 1970, a student nurse named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother for her 28th birthday. Shortly after receiving the doll, both she and her roommate Angie began noticing strange things happening. The doll seemed to move around all by itself. The pair would often find the doll in a different room to where it was before they left the house. On several occasions, Donna left the doll on the couch before she went to work, returning to find it sitting on her bed in her room with the door closed. About a month after Donna first received the doll, the two women began to find disturbing messages written on parchment paper lying around the apartment. The messages, which looked as though they were written by a small child, read, "Help us and help Lou." Lou was a friend of the girls who had bad feelings about the doll from day one. One night, Donna came home to find the doll sitting on her bed. Feeling very uneasy, she inspected the doll and found that it looked as though it had drops of blood on its hands. The women decided to seek the advice of a medium who told them that the doll was actually possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The medium claimed that Annabelle lived on the property before the apartment block was built and had suffered some sort of accident that led to her death. The medium told the women that Annabelle felt safe living with them and asked if she could stay. They agreed and took the doll home. Not long after returning home, even stranger things began to occur. One night when their friend Lou was staying over, he had a very vivid nightmare. When he awoke, he realised that he couldn't move. Next, he claimed the doll appeared at his feet and made its way up his leg, finally resting on his chest. The doll then strangled him until he passed out. He awoke the next day convinced that what had happened was not a dream. Later that day, Lou and Donna heard sounds coming from her room. Lou went to investigate but found nothing except the doll in a heap in the corner. As Lou turned to leave the room, he claimed the doll lunged at him and scratched his chest. The scratches appeared like claw marks and were hot like burns. Completely terrified, Donna contacted a priest who alerted paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens took an immediate interest in the case and agreed to meet Donna. After investigating the matter, the Warrens determined that the spirit attached to the doll was not that of a little girl, but was actually a very dangerous demon. They believed the spirit had tricked the woman into letting it stay in their house when it communicated through the medium. The Warrens took the doll away and it's now on display in their occult museum. It's housed within a glass case that reads, "Warning, positively do not open." To this day, the doll is still said to possess eerie powers. It was reported that a young man who mocked the doll while on tour of the museum died shortly after his visit. He lost control of his motorcycle and drove head-on into a tree. Joliet the doll has been passed down through 4 generations of the same family. Its current owner, a woman named Anna, said that the doll was originally gifted to her great-grandmother by a jealous and bitter friend. The friend was believed to have placed an evil curse on the doll that saw her great-grandmother give birth to 2 children, a girl and a boy. 3 days after the birth, the son mysteriously passed away. Since then, all the women of the family have suffered the same fate. All have given birth to a girl and a boy, and each time the boy has died 3 days later. The family says that at night they can hear the laughter and crying of many young infants coming from the doll. They believe that the doll acts as a vessel for the spirits of the boys that all mysteriously passed away just 3 days after their birth.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you enjoy our content and you want to get your name scrolling across the top there, consider supporting us on Patreon. There's a link in the description box below. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.